Alright, hell yeah. So this is all the clips of the harder way to turn on a pile. So we have a pile here. If we're entering, sometimes it's easier to smiley face all the way across and then spin on the opposite shoulder. But because this locks me in, this pile, and just the way the wave is, it locks me in on this far right side, surfer's right. I have to spin up against here. And so if we spin with a pry, I'm going to be spinning this direction. And the boat is going to go, this part of the boat's going to go up against the pile. And so that's a little bit harder because it puts me on the low side. And when I do a body shift, so hell yeah, so we're going to go up against this, pry. You know, it makes me want a high side right away to not feel like I'm falling over there. And so it's a different style than what I'm used to on my, just trying to just go over here. But anyway, so we do a pretty good job of high siding and sitting here. And what we're going to notice is that if I go for the high side and sit on this corner, that stops the rotation, and you'll see that the boat starts to slide in. So hell yeah, so let's take a look at this. Hell yeah, so that kind of stopped the rotation. The other thing to focus, yeah, so we're going to high side. The other thing to focus on, so let's go through all the steps. So we do a pry, and then we kind of go for the high side, and I think I rotate outward. And so that is rotating the opposite direction that the boat is spinning. The boat is going to spin, that direction, and I'm going to rotate the opposite way and kind of lock it in. All right, hell yeah. So we have a few. This is all the successes that I had on this harder side. So rotate around. This time I rotate too much, but that's fine because we're going to talk about this one. Because what gets in the way, that last time gets in the way. So let's say we rotate it around. We're ready to go for another one. This biting in is, biting in on the shoulder. Boat goes up against the pile. That bites in on the shoulder. So what we need to do is just, heavily edge more, just so we're edged. And we're trying to kick this, the stern of our boat to make it not hit. And so, so it's right there it hit. All right, hell yeah. So let's take a look at that one all the way through. Okay, so we pry and see how none of this boat is hitting, this end of the boat, the stern of the boat crosses through. I'm going to jump for that high side. This time, yes, I rotate the opposite way. But I'm not able to sit on this high side, and it's already biting. And so, just the timing of that, how much I rotate, and then getting ready for that high side to lock it in. And I was just a little bit late on the high side, where this is a harder way for me to jump to the other side. But if I pry, and then all I have to do is just jump forward, because I think that's what I did in this one. So we pry, and then we just jump forward. And maybe that wasn't so much emphasized. In one of them, though, I just jump forward, and I'm not even looking at where I'm going. I'm just going to high side and then rotate, and this time we rotate outward. The second time we high side, rotate. We rotate too much, but still, this whole turning pushes me up against the pile. So it gives me the opportunity to, now it's just spinning again, and we're up against the pile, so we can kind of chill it out. And then the other thing is we're also on that side of the pile and doing taking that pry, because this is the other thing that I've noticed. If I'm on that side of the pile and I'm kind of getting pieced out, like just paddling in from that low far side over there is kind of how you'd enter the wave anyway. And so it's pretty forgiving. And so we surf again, but then that last time we purl and bite. So all right, let's take a look at another one. We pry. This part of the boat doesn't get too much. We go for the high side. I'm heavily leaning on that tube, so that probably kind of stops the rotation. So yeah, that was a really good one. So we're going to look for this. Lean back, pry, high side, and and then when on the high side, jump for that tube to lock it in. Just because we know we have the pile right here, easier said than done. It isn't until I actually do these videos to be like, oh, okay, yeah, let me do that next time just on repeat. So pry and then jump for that high side to lock this edge in. And then once I get my weight on this edge, it's not going to surf over, it's not going to do anything funky. And it's going to release the other edges that are up against that shoulder that can easily get hit. And so even while the front of the boat was kind of surfing and purling. All right, so hell yeah, one more time on this one. High side, get on that edge, and then booyah. So that was a really good one. All right, let's try it again. But yeah, we get, cool. I'm just going to say, yeah, we weren't able to spin all the way around. That part of the boat really wasn't hitting or anything. I guess it a little bit. All right, hell yeah. So heavily edged. See how that part of the boat, that's for proprioception, you know what I mean, having this part of the boat not hit. And let's see what we do. So pry. I'm going to jump to this side. So yeah, so even just pry and then just jump to this edge kind of locks it in. And then I'm going to rotate the opposite way of the boat. So yeah, that was really good. And it's just interesting. I thought I was doing it wrong, but no. It's just because I'm locked in on that side and I'm doing spins on the harder direction. It's easier to spin all the way around a wave and then spin off the opposite shoulder. This is a higher elevation. Everything feeds into that corner, so I'm not able to get on this side of the pile. Cool. So yeah, we have to spin right up against the pile. You know what I mean? So that's what we do. Lean back, spin against the pile, go for that edge. Hell yeah, that was really good. I guess that's the same footage. Get some water. All right, let's watch another one. These are all successes, so lean back, rotate. That time, this is what I'm going to call a 3/4 spin. And so this is pretty cool. So, we rotate, we over-rotate. So one thing that we're going to notice is like, hey, this part doesn't hit, but we over-rotate. So we're already rotating around while we're high-siding. And then so so this part can't bite in. So even though I do lay on it, we've already spun 3/4. So yeah, now it's biting in as it's, kind of surfing me back in. But this would be the 3/4 turn, and it really just sets me up to spin again. And so that's what we do. Let's take a look at that all the way through. So this is just 3/4 turn, and then a high side. But then, yeah, you can do whatever you want to lock it in if I just take my time. And yeah, like why did it get washed out? You know what I mean? So we got the 3/4 turn. We did that. Well, yeah, do the 3/4 turn, throw in that pry, but at some point I got to jump to this side earlier and then lock that in. The pile's on this side. If I put weight on this tube, everything's going to stabilize. This rotation is going to stop up against this pile. And so that's just what I needed to do. We get just kicked out again. All right, hell yeah. And so one more, maybe a couple more. That time that did work, but let's look at this. Because this is what I was trying to do. I just didn't know that it was a different portion of the wave. I was trying to lean back and then jump for this corner and then take a paddle stroke in. So have the boat, kind of over-rotate a little bit. I'm not even facing this way, so I'm doing that kind of, I don't know if it's wrong just because this is harder. I have to jump uphill because we're up against the pile. But I should already be facing that direction, taking a stroke. Paddle should be high in the air. On this one, we even touched our hand. We've made a video of this one before. And I should already be paddling in. But because we over-rotate on this one, there you go. We can just take a pry, and and just where we are, the back of the boat doesn't hit again, and then I should be able to lock it in, but we must not do that. No, we do a pretty good job of trying to lock it in, but just that over rotation. Sometimes it feels like the boat's not going to rotate enough, and sometimes it's going to over-rotate. So this, we'll watch this all the way through. We did 2 rotations. This, over-rotate, but we save it again, over-rotate again. And so if I'm over-rotating again, just go for it. But I thought I could, on that second rotation, so over-rotation once, I thought I could lock it in, but I couldn't. Okay, hell yeah. So this one's real quick. Oh yeah, I cut it too short. But hell yeah. So we're going to do a pry, and then what do we do? Yeah, so it kind of over-rotated, but I'm going to try to jump for this corner. Oh no, this is kind of just, yeah, this is one where I over-rotate, and it's hard for me to jump over here, so might as well just lean forward, because even this is a high side. Even that kind of locks me in, gives me a slight pause before the boat starts to do its 3/4 turn, and then I can jump on that tube. So I'd classify this as a 3/4 turn. Alright, hell yeah. And then we kind of stay in on that one. Alright, one more on this one. So let's see what we do. Rotate. And then this one I was trying to just go, you know, it's a different portion of the wave. This works if you're already smiley faced all the way across, where you're going to lean back. I'm not even lean back, so, but just the idea of just jumping to this corner and then taking a paddle stroke. But I need to be taking a paddle stroke. You can't just jump for this corner and just a low side in. And so that's what I'll get better on. Alright, that was all of them. Hell yeah. Thanks for joining me. I guess we can just watch that one more time, I guess. Hell yeah. And then jump to that low side. Alright, sweet.